That's CJ on the track.
Black Scully on check. Got a little graphic polo on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode on today's docket. For our Into the News segment, we're gonna talk about a lot today. I feel like I say that every day, but these shows, man, I'm telling you, I really put in the work so I can bring you guys this amazing content. We're gonna talk about Todd McShay, and he wants Michigan offense to evolve. I think that's him and everybody else want their offense to evolve, but I think, in recent memory, they've played to the strengths of their team, which is outstanding defense and the ability to run the ball. I think we seen earlier in Harbaugh's tenure there, when he was the coach there, we saw a little bit more balance, but, it is what it is. I think, Bryce Underwood is going to give them a different element. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Archie Wilson, emotional fall camp at Nebraska. It was difficult watching that. And I hope his teammates or, people in Lincoln, they shouldn't make fun of him. I don't know if you guys ever had to go to another country and be far away from your family. Like, how old is the kid? He's like 18 or 19 years old, bro. That's difficult. Being in a different country, different culture, the English language, even though that's what they speak over there, but, the Americanized version of it, people joke around a lot here. People troll a lot here. So it might be difficult for him. Venmogate, we're going to talk a lot about that. I wanted to talk about it yesterday, but I want to get more intel on it. I wanted to hear more about it before I just started openly speaking about it. And after hearing, John Mateer's version of the story, I 1000% believed him. The moment I saw it, I said, this is fake. The moment I saw it, I said, this is fake. And apparently it's not fake and it's real, but, somebody doing that all of these years later. And then the funniest part of it is a lot of these teams' social media page are hilarious, so they instantly troll them off of this. And I think Texas put something up like, hey, NCAA, you see this? It was hilarious, but, we'll talk about it in more fashion. Ryan Grubb, or why Ty Simpson won Bama's quarterback job. Yes, we heard that he's the starter, but it's also good to hear from the coaches on why they believe that person won the starter position. We're going to talk about that. Oregon wide receiver Jurrion Dickey was suspended. There was a lot of news coming out yesterday, and I didn't quite know what to believe. Some of the news that, we were gathering here at CFB Nation was he was kicked off to the team. Some of the other news is like, no, he was just suspended. He's a talented player. And, one of the things we always say on this show, when opportunity knocks, bro, go make it happen. And I think this would have been a great opportunity for him. I don't know how long he'll be suspended for, but, we'll get into more of exactly what happened during the actual segment. This is just, you guys know how I do by now. I'm just giving you a teaser for the episode. Also, Greg McElroy says the AP voters disrespected Auburn. I mean, 10 SEC teams in. Greg McElroy wanted 11. Who you gonna replace? I will replace him with Tennessee for sure, but that's something we're gonna speak upon. On Governor Reacts, we're gonna react to ESPN Preseason All-America Team. I believe they did a first team and second team. We'll look at that, react to it. You guys know I'll have some one-liners to it. For Governor Ruling, any given Saturday, I finally had the chance to sit down and watch it. Because when I want to watch something like that, knowing that I'm going to turn it into a segment, I want to be able to give it the time and attention it deserves. I don't want to be distracted. I want to actually sit down and watch it. I don't want to be working on my notes for the next day's show. I don't want to be doing any of that. I want to watch it. And outstanding job. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews, and that's why you need to watch them for yourself. I only watched episodes 1 and 2, so this will be a continued series for Governor Ruling. So as I watch, 3 and 4, I don't know how many episodes it is, but I'll be excited for that. I got a lot to say about that. I was writing down notes and my thoughts as it was airing. A lot of funny parts. There were some parts that I was fighting back the tears a little bit. These kids are amazing. I think, what that was able to do is really open up that fourth wall. Like, one of the conferences we don't have a lot of access to is SEC. So a lot of times when I am speaking on a team, it is with that fourth wall up because I haven't been around a program. There's certain programs I've been around. When I'm speaking on that team or that program, it's because I've been around that program and the fourth wall has been broken, right? But this show kind of broke the fourth wall. To be honest with you, I kind of softened my stance on Brian Kelly a little bit. I got to admit that. And for Around the Nation, we're going to go around the nation and do fall camp until we got 5 stops 5 stories I'm excited to talk about. I think this is going to be a magnificent episode today. Governor of College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great
on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of the Alrighty, so we are here for Into the News. We're going to get into the 6 stories that kind of caught my eye over the past 24 hours, and I love to do this in case you've been out and about, you've been busy. It's back to school season for a lot of people, so in case you ain't been able to catch up on college football, that's why I love to start every episode with this Into the News. I think it's a great way, for us to, catch up on college football together. Todd McShay wants Michigan to evolve on offense. The Ringers, Todd McShay, thinks new offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey can modernize Michigan's attack without abandoning its physical identity. Bryce Underwood brings 5-star upside at quarterback. Justin Haynes transfers in from Bama at running back. And McShay says, every time, same time, every day, let maybe not have 5 tight ends on the field at once. I think this is one of those things, one of those inside jokes, running jokes. When you look at a Michigan game, you kind of know what you're going to get. And it's crazy because Ohio State knew exactly what they were going to get last year. But Michigan was still able to play outstanding defense. They were still able to possess the ball, and they were still able to win the game. But we do need to see that evolution. I talk about it, I think it was a couple of episodes ago when we were talking about Jimbo Fisher in great detail. And I was saying we need to see that next step and him evolve the offense. We can't be running what we were running in 2014. The game evolves that quickly. All of these offensive coordinators and play callers are adding new wrinkles every offseason, especially if they get a player. And I'm like, wow, I don't think I've ever had a player with this exact skill set. Let me look at some of the plays and formations we have and see ways that I can get him the ball in a creative facet. This is how the game evolves. You got to keep up with the game. And the fact that Sharon Moore does have an impending 2-game suspension, we already know what games are going to be. His games 3 and 4 versus CMU in Nebraska. And I believe that Nebraska game is in Lincoln. This team needs to be equipped for his departure. I said it before. I believe that Jim Harbaugh, those times that he was on suspension, the attention to detail was there, and their running game was so dominant, and their defense was so dominant, I felt like Ann Arbor could better deal with his departure versus a Sharon Moore departure. Not saying that they don't have the coaches on the staff to deal with it, but, all I's going to be dotted, T's going to be crossed, and the attack that Sharon Moore wants to have, how will that be? Because I think when they're suspended, they have to be completely away from the program. I'm not sure if they're able to be around at practice and stuff like that. I think a suspension is a suspension. You got to be completely away. So whoever he names, the associate head coach while he's out, they'll have a lot weighing on their shoulders. I think the thing that impressed me was Sharon Moore. I know people were kind of laughing at him after I think it was the Penn State game. He was a little bit emotional. He's like, I love you, Jim. People was making fun of that, but hey, man, that was a difficult game against Penn State, and they was just able to possess the ball, run the ball, and they was able to win, from the defensive side of the ball. So, great win for him, and he kind of showed himself, yes, I could do it at this level. So, I'm just interested to see, but Todd McShay is 100% correct. Yes, we need to see the evolution in Ann Arbor offensively, especially when you got a kid at quarterback like Bryce Underwood. Coming in with our second story today, Archie Wilson's emotional fall camp at Nebraska. We seen him in a press conference. They asked him about his family, and he just completely. It was difficult to watch. I'm not gonna lie. This kid is far away from his family. Trying to be good at this football thing, and I don't think people realize sometimes. I don't know what it's like when. Now I know back when I was in college. Your first year there because you're in the dormitories, and after that, most people move off campus, and you already know who your roommates are going to be. But the first year, what they made us do was take a personality exam, and you were roomed based on that. And they did an outstanding job. The 2 people who I was roommates with, because we had a 3-person dorm, we all was college football fans. We all were video game heads, and that's what we did. That's when I remember I was telling you guys about the story how we used to watch, and this is back in the day when we would watch it like, 2 college football games at the same time, using a splitter to be able to do it. A lot easier now, but, back then it wasn't as easy. So I'm not sure what that's like. And, I know in the press conference, he was tearing up, right in front of the, reporters, and, how much he misses his family. And I know his family will be here the first few games of the season, but, that's difficult on an 18 or 19-year-old, especially if you have, like, one of those strong villages. Like I always say, man, I have a strong village, man. You know what? My family, man, my parents, what I tell you, man, my parents are rock solid, man. I don't have more trust in anybody in this world than I do with my parents, bro. And my brothers are rock solid, too. And then, it's the extended outside of that. My Uncle Foots, that's one of my right-hand man. Then you think about the people on Leverett that I grew up with, like, or Director Mike. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I tell you my village is so strong, bro, it's A1. And I couldn't imagine being in another country, even if it was a, English-speaking country, and at this age, well, of course, I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to stand on my own too, but at the end of the day, that's difficult. So, just be careful with this information. I know we like to troll, and we like to joke a lot, and it's cool, and it's really fun for the sport, but, do it in a lighthearted fashion. Something like this, like, just keep in mind this kid is 18 or 19 years old. Like, just keep that in mind. Like, my cousin Chris came up here, pretty much a few days after graduation, he moved up here, right? More opportunity because, his parents, they live in Cheraw, South Carolina, if you ever heard of that before. But he came up here, 16 years old, graduated from high school. It was just more opportunity for him to come up here. So I'm sure the first couple of days was rough, being accustomed to being around that strong village that he had. But, I wanted to make sure when he was up here with me that, one, you was going to be comfortable. 2, you're going to be treated like a man. And if you ever need help with anything, I was always going to be there, right? So, I think he has my car more than I have my car. But those are the things that I wanted for him when he got up here. So, I don't think people realize how difficult that is, for a teenager. So, please, we make fun of a lot of stuff. Don't make fun of this. Like, hey, be a gentleman, man. Some of the people that I know I grew up with, I'm talking about certified killers. And I mean that in every sense of the word. They were gentlemen, bro. So while, from the Western world, look at them and only know them for being murderers, when they came in my grandmother's house, they was respectful. Hi, Mrs. Lightfoot. May I have, because my grandma was one of them people back in the 90s who had the little water thing. They wouldn't just come in and get water and say, Miss Lightfoot, can I have some water, please? Like, they were gentlemen. I think, it's cool to troll. I'm in CFB league. That's hilarious. We trolling there a lot, but just have a little bit of ethics when you're trolling. So please don't troll this young man. Venmogate at Oklahoma fizzles out. So it first popped up. We were live on Overreaction Monday. And I've talked about this before on my show. I don't think D now knows how important he is to my ecosystem. Because, he's truly a college football insider. I would never ever claim to be that. Him, and in my opinion, Nino, and with Oklahoma Boomer, they are insiders. Like, some of the intel and information that they get is out of this world. And I think we were live, right? How the hell does he get this when we're live? We're actually live doing a recording of Overreaction Monday. He said, look in chat. We're like, what? And then this Venmo thing popped up. I'm like, yo, we were live, bro. Like, who do you know? Like, I know he never will reveal his sources, but the things and the information that D now gets is crazy. Like, and trust me, like, I wish I could show you guys what my Mozilla Firefox looked like, because you're going to see the CFBNation.com, and you're going to see a host of other sites. You're going to see On3, you're going to see Bleacher Report, you're going to see SI, you're going to see ESPN, but it's all their college football pages. So the moment I click on it, Athlon Sports is up there as well. But even with me, and I go and I click on those sites every day, at least 4 or 5 times a day, because I love getting the news and find out what's going on. I do 5-hour shows a week. So yes, of course, I'm addicted to the sport. But at the same time, there's just certain news that D now gets. He gets it before a lot of people. There's a lot of stories that Nino posts, and he posts it before all the major platforms who definitely have more sources than we have, but they're just able to do it. So yeah, so we got it live on Overreaction Monday. We're live. We're doing the show. I don't think people understand enough. Like, when I'm live, my phone is typically on the charger, and that's where it is now because, my battery doesn't hold the charge for Nathaniel, but it's all good. It is what it is. The fact that he was able to get that, shared it super fast. I didn't even see him because he was looking at the screen the entire time. It was like he was doing like one of these numbers. He just knew what everything was, and I don't know. But yeah, D now is goated, bro. He always gets a lot of news. So I didn't, when I first saw it, I thought it was fake, 100%. I did get a good laugh. Like, this, I think it's a healthy type of trolling. Like when Texas was like, NCAA, did you see this? Well, of course, they're supposed to do that. They're rivals, so they're supposed to do that. So, like I said, I didn't think it was anything. I don't think it will be anything. And quite frankly, we know that the NCAA has to rule on a few matters as it pertains to players and their eligibility this year. I don't think this will lead to anything. I really don't. But I love when we find names for things like, like Blurgate. That was the thing of last week. Venmogate this week. We always getting something. Cheeseburger gate. It's like we just have these things and these sayings in college football. And it's like an inside joke. It's like we know for those who watch college football, but the people who don't, but they'll watch it week 0, week 1, and part of week 2 because the NFL isn't back yet. And we just be watching them like be real. Let's go to left field real quick. Be real. Like, can't y'all tell when there's people like posting about college football who really don't really care about it? Like, can't y'all tell? I know, y'all the 1%er, so if I can tell, I know y'all can tell. Like, I can tell, like, when it's, like, draft experts who love the draft process and they evaluate, and I'm not saying they don't do their work. They 1,000% do their work. Or just people who really don't watch college football but just want to talk about it because they're watching the game. Like, we know, bro. Like, I tell Nino and them all the time, Moon all the time, bro, I hate getting on Twitter week 0 and week 1. They be like, why you hate it so much? I'm like, cuz these bozos be talking, bro. And I just be like, where y'all gonna be at 3 or 4 weeks from now, right? I don't know. That's just how I feel. Am I taking too far? Y'all gotta let me know. But that's just how I feel. Ryan Grubb on why Ty Simpson won Bama's quarterback job. Alabama offensive coordinator said Simpson's ball security and playmaking outside the pocket set him apart. A 1-pick all camp, which is incredible. Better command of the offense and steady decision making. If there's some things that are absolutely coach speak when evaluating quarterbacks, it is command of the offense. Like, these are buzzwords. I'm going to give you the buzzwords. Command of the offense, leadership, decision-making, and unpredictability are kind of the buzzwords. And not unpredictability as a negative denotation, but unpredictability to be able to make off-script plays is part of a better vernacular to use. But that's why he won the job. We've been saying that. I know Nino was pounding the table in the spring. I was pounding the table in the spring. We're like, yo, Ty Simpson, the MVP of the spring. Right? So I'm excited to see him with Ryan Grubb at offensive coordinator. One less thing that Kalen DeBoer has to worry about because he knows what Ryan Grubb is going to do. And that's no disrespect to Nick Sheridan because Nick Sheridan did a pretty decent job last year. But I think, in the grand scheme of things, hey, when we look at, having that comfortability, somebody that knows how we like to run our offense, and they had a bunch of success in Seattle a few years ago. Let's see if they can have that same or similar success in Tuscaloosa. Why? Because 9-3 ain't good enough in Tuscaloosa. Charlottesville would be happy, right? Hell, Blacksburg might be happy right now too with going 9-3, right? East Lansing will take a 9-3 right now, but in Tuscaloosa, it just don't cut it. In Tuscaloosa, they think you won 5-7, bro. You go 9-3, they think you won 5-7. For real. Like, that's just the way it works in Tuscaloosa. Oregon wide receiver Jurrion Dickey suspended. Dan Lanning said it's over a series of action, not just one action, but multiple actions. Not one incident, and the hopes of the talented, underutilized wide receiver can return. The staff wants to help him, not run him off. But for now, Dickey's focus is away from the team. I want you all to sit back. I don't know how old the people are who are watching this, but think about when you were 17, 18, or 19 years old, right? Think back and think about some of the dumb stuff that you did at that age. Like, just some of the really stupid stuff that you aged. Maybe you dated somebody you had no business dating, or you was in college and, a prerequisite was partying, right? Now, take that and take yourself at that age. Take all of the information and things that you thought of immediately when you first began to think that. Now, give yourself where we are with the internet now. Give yourself the popularity of being, one of the best, football players on campus. And then give yourself money at that age and imagine what you will be doing. Really just take a second and think about that. Because we're critical of these people, and we're critical of these people as we're older, as we're making, much more educated decisions versus when we're their age. I know I couldn't have the money that these kids had at 17 18, 19, or even 20 years old. It took me some time to figure it out, right, when I was in college. I'm talking about academic probation, restricted status, had to take a summer course to get right back on, to be good to continue school because I goofed off. I look at it now, I should have, made nothing but straight A's in college. But in high school, I was able to go to class, retain information, and study for anything I didn't even know how to study, right? So I take me at that time being a top-tier football player because I told you guys before, everybody has labels and, what they were, at all levels of schooling, right? Whether it's middle school, high school, or college. We threw parties. That's what we did. So you give me money at that time? Ain't a big man on campus playing ball? Oh, yeah. Ma Dukes and Pops gonna have to come down to Salisbury, man. They gonna have to bail me out of jail, dog. You couldn't have given me nothing of that. Because I'd have been doing stupid stuff. Like, I'm talking about time the police that came to my apartment to shut a party down, bro. Man, I'd have threw money in their face back there. I was so disrespectful, bro. Like, that's exactly what would have happened. Just to be honest with you, right? So, at the end of the day, you got to sometimes put yourself in the place of them. Don't look at these people from where you're at now. You can't do that because now we're wiser. Now, we've learned from our mistakes. But look at them from when you were that age. Remember some of the dumb stuff you was doing at that age. You like, yeah, I be doing something stupid too. So don't be so careful, so quickly to judge them or try to throw dirt on somebody's name. Why don't you actually put yourself in their position and be empathetic? It goes a long way. It really does. Greg McElroy says AP voters disrespected Auburn. The former Bama quarterback turned analyst ranked Auburn number 20 in his own preseason poll, but the Tigers landed 37th in the AP voting. He cites upgraded quarterback play with Jackson Arnold, of course. Wide receiver Eric Singleton's arrival from Georgia Tech solidified offensive line reasons Auburn should be in the top 25. I'm with them. 100%. And I say I want them because, hey, take Tennessee out, put Auburn in. Bada bing, bada boom, it's fixed. Knoxville fans once again gonna be mad at the governor, but it's all good. But we're gonna move right along. Let's get into Governor Reacts and ESPN 2025 Preseason All-America Team. Alrighty, so in this Governor React segment, we're going to look at ESPN All-American Team. That's the first team and second team. We're going to go down the list. A lot of these guys, you shouldn't even have to think about it, to be honest with you. You really shouldn't. So, Cade Klubnik is number one on the list, 2024. He had 43 total touchdowns. He's posed for explosion. Elite returners with him. One of the best wide receivers cores in the country. I know a lot of people like Williams. A lot of people like Moore. Brian Westcott is really good. He's a football player. And what I saw out of him in that Texas game and late down the stretch, because we were at the ACC championship between SMU and Clemson, and it was cold outside at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was cold. It was freezing out there. Damn good game. Walk-off field goal. Just remember seeing Dabo Swinney in that moment. Because everybody else is probably watching the players, because the players do the pick that we always see on, College Football 25 and now 26. But I'm just watching him. And I'm just watching him walk around, and it's this walk that he have. I told y'all, what I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. But, that's the feeling that I got being around Dabo. And, he's talking like, man, hey, man, we were the first team to go 15. I want to go 16-0. If he believes that they can do that, I'm not betting against that, right? And I told you guys before, I look at the quarterback pairing and the offensive coordinator pairing. Does that offensive coordinator trust him? I've talked about Penn State, and for some reason in their staff, there's a lack of trust for Drew Aller. And they'll say, no, it isn't. Look at his numbers he's been able to produce. But why in big moments you guys don't let him, take the shots that he need to take to make that step? Because I think he's an elite quarterback. And I think we should be talking more about him, possibly, being a higher pick in the 2026 NFL draft. But it's I don't trust that pairing. I really don't. I really like Andy Kotelnicki as offensive coordinator. I really like Drew Aller as a quarterback. But there's something that's missing there. But you see it in Clemson with Garrett Riley and with Cade Klubnik. And he has complete command of the offense. You know those buzzwords we like to use. Leadership, his ability to make those off-script plays are going to be monumental. And then he has a home run hitter at running back, Gideon Davis, who could take, you give him space, he will take it all the way. So I like the team. The defense is stout. Defense is really stout. One of the better defenses in the nation, too. So, yeah, Cade Klubnik, QB1 on this. I'm not mad at all. At running back, we got two of them. We got Jeremiah Love, 1,125 yards, 17 touchdowns, 0 fumbles last year. Played injured during the playoff run, could you tell? I couldn't. So, him, Jadarian Price, we know Notre Dame's going to do big things this year. But, yeah, Jeremiah Love, absolutely RB1. And then Nick Singleton was the second running back on here. He had 1,099 yards rushing last year, 17 total touchdowns, 6.4 yards per carry. My vote may have been for Isaac Brown if we're getting two running backs. And that's not to say anything against Nick Singleton. It's because, like, Nick Singleton has Katron Allen. That's a beautiful 1-2 combo. And I could probably say the same for Jeremiah Love, but I've seen Jeremiah Love completely take over games, right? So it's difficult to go against that. But, at the same time, yeah, Nick Singleton, certainly an argument for him. My vote would have been Isaac Brown. At wide receiver, this is easy. We don't even need to talk about this. Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams. This is easy. Nobody can argue this. Moving right along. We don't even need to talk about them. Of course, we'll talk about him a little bit. But Jeremiah Smith, arguably the greatest, freshman season ever is the argument. I'll go with all day Adrian Peterson. But, yeah, 17 catchdowns last year. Some of the plays that he's able to make was incredible. Ryan Williams, we all remember the play against Georgia. They were incredible. Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt, 49 receptions, 638 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's kind of everybody's pick. If I'm going on potential, Michael Trigg is in a discussion, not for first team, probably not even for second team. Definitely for first team in the Big 10, though. I'm sorry, in the Big 12, though. But we'll have to see. But, yeah, not bad. I'm not mad at that at all. Offensive lineman Spencer Fano, this kid is – you see somebody like him, and I could tell he's somebody with, like, a mean streak that you don't want to mess with. Like, he was so chill at Big 12 media days. Like, man, a lot of the Utah players was kind of like just chilling in the area behind us, like talking to the people that they knew. Like, there was a BYU, I can't think of their name, and I follow them on Twitter. But media who weren't too far from us, and of course they cover BYU and Utah, but they mostly cover BYU. But they're in the area, so of course they have the ability. Just like the schools that are near me in Richmond, in Virginia that are near me are, within a 3.5 hour reach, we cover all of them, right? I go to as many games as possible. So I'm sure that they did the same thing. But Spencer Fano, PFF highest graded tackle, didn't allow a single sack. That's a crazy stat, bro. That is really crazy. Ione from Penn State, the guard, slim down, top interior, Big Ten blocker. Heart of PSU's run game. That's Penn State's run game. So, yeah, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen. Yeah, of course. He should be up here. Jake Slaughter, this is a slam dunk. I think Fano and Slaughter are just slam dunks. I've been saying it for a while that Jake is, the best interior lineman in all of college football, best center for sure. And then Armaj Reed Adams from Texas A&M. That's the name everybody's had up there. And then Kalen Proctor from Alabama. All-purpose, Desmond Reed from Pittsburgh. Spectacular. Enough people don't know about him. Demond Claiborne from Wake, I think, also deserves some consideration in this area as well because he was spectacular. And when I say spectacular, I really mean spectacular last season during this time in Winston-Salem. So, yes, that's the first team. I'm not mad at it at all. Like I said, a lot of this is just hard to argue, at least from the offensive perspective. It's difficult to argue. It really is. I don't even know why, we would argue most of this. Like I said, I love Cade Klubnik at quarterback. Yeah, there's some discussions you can make there. Garrett Nussmeier, or if you're a Lenore Sellers guy, you could certainly make that take there. But like I said, I ain't mad at it. I ain't beefing with it. I'm cool with it for the most part. So let's go right along and move along to the defense. We got Dylan Stewart at defensive end. Arguably the best in the business. Not mad at it. Peter Woods, real deal. He's a game changer. LT Overton, also real deal game changer. 6'5", 285. He's crazy, man. Hybrid. It'll be interesting to see how he's utilized at the NFL level. TJ Parker's another game changer. There were plays during the ACC championship. He single-handedly just took over that game, and he just made plays. Parker forced a school record 6 fumbles last season and 16.5 sacks over his first 2 seasons. Cade Klubnik had a huge media circus around him because Clemson didn't come to Radio Row. They stood outside of Radio Row and said, y'all gonna meet us here. That's how we gonna do this, right? Hey, they Clemson. They got the right to do that, right? So I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at it at all. But T.J. Parker had a bunch of people around him, too. Anthony Hill from Texas. Anthony Hill Jr. This is easy. We don't need to talk about that. This is one I was happy that they got right. Because I feel like so many people omit Kyle Lewis. But Kyle Lewis is a dog. He really is a dog. And he's a game changer, man. There was one team in particular I really wanted to see in the breakout room because, mind you, we at the ACC Media Days, we were on Radio Row, so we were giving you guys live content, live from Radio Row, of course. But I was telling somebody, let me know when Pitt's in a breakout room, right? Because I want to talk to Kyle Lewis and just shake his hand and tell him, man, hey, man, they need to put some respect on your name. He said, don't they, though? That was his reply to me. So, yes, I'm happy to see that Kyle Lewis is here. Gabe Jacas from Illinois. Real deal, 6'3", 275 pounds. Had 16 career sacks. He had 8 last season. 13 tackles for loss. Hey, I ain't mad at it at all. Cornerbacks, we got Leonard Moore from Notre Dame. Shabron McCoy from Tennessee. That's my dog. I think he is QB1 for my money in this upcoming class. I know the kid Rivers from Duke will give him a run for his money. Of course, Leonard Moore will give him a run for his money, but I like him a lot. And if Tennessee's going to be really good, that defense better be elite. Caleb Downs is still the best player in college football. I know a lot of people like to say Jeremiah Smith is, but Caleb Downs is the best player in college football. My opinion will not change on that. It will not. I think he's the top-rated prospect. I don't care who's at the 2026 class. I don't care who you put in there. The best player in college football is Caleb Downs. Let's not argue what doesn't need to be argued. It really don't. He's a game changer on the defensive side of the ball, making tackles, making plays on the ball in the return game. Because that return against Indiana was a game changer, right? So, yes. And then Michael Tabb from Texas. I don't argue with a lot of this at all. So let's go to the second team defense before we go to the second team offense and see who are some of the people in the mix. Alrighty. So, Colin Simmons from Texas is second team. Christian Miller from Georgia is second team. I have no beef with that. Ruben Bain, real deal, right? Right. Like, Ruben Bain is legit. He really is. I was surprised he wasn't at media days for Miami. I was truly surprised by that. Keldrick Falk, Auburn. Defensive end, the second team. Linebacker Deontay Lawson, Alabama. He deserves to be on second team. Torian York is really good. He really is from Texas A&M. If you haven't checked him out, please get a chance. Second team, C.J. Allen from Georgia. For the corners, we got Avion Terrell Clemson. I like Avion Terrell a lot. Chandler Rivers from Duke. Like I said, he's one of those guys you could say will be in there. Not over McCoy for my money, but probably over Leonard. And then at safeties, we got Corey Perch, Minnesota, and then KJ Bowden, Georgia. Interesting. Special teams, we got Dominic Zvada, Michigan. I forgot to go over this. Backup is Will Fern, BYU. Brett Thorson, Georgia. Backup is Ryan Eckley, Michigan State. Returner Barian Brown. And then backup is Cam Shanks. So, that's the special teams and both defense, first team and second team. Let's go back to the second team offense. At quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, hard to argue with that. It really is. To me, when I look at the Heisman, I know a lot of people like Lenore Sellers, and I think Lenore Sellers is spectacular, to be honest with you, 100%. But for me, the Heisman, for now, until said otherwise, Garrett Nussmeier, 100%, and Cade Klubnik are the guys that I'm looking at to win the Heisman. Second team, running back, we got Katron Allen. Okay, Mekhi Hughes. I ain't mad at that, but where's Isaac Brown? It's a question I propose to everybody. Where is Isaac Brown? What Pac say, I ain't mad at you, but where's Isaac Brown? All right, at wide receiver, second team, Jordan Tyson, Antonio Williams. Okay. Hey, I like him. I don't want y'all to think that I'm not a fan of Antonio Williams. I like him, bro. I like Wesco more. And then Max Clear from Ohio State at tight end. Francis Magua, Miami, second team tackle. Second team guard is Joe Brunner, Wisconsin. They breed him there. I'm glad that they're changing the offense back, even though I am a huge fan of the air raid. Parker Brailsford, Alabama, backup center. Backup guard is Caden Green from Missouri. And then second team offensive tackle is Cage Casey from Boise State. And then second team all-purpose is Isaac Brown. So they put Isaac Brown into the all-purpose category. I ain't gonna lie. I was about to be mad. Don't even get me started, man. We're going to go ahead and take a commercial break. We'll be back right after these messages. Don't go nowhere. Look at you out here using all these other sports books and you ain't even using the best one. BetUS. Get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the offseason, even though we don't celebrate that. You know, CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7. But there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins? OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping when the Kentucky Derby hits town. BetUS has you covered in that way too, with all major horse racing events. Point is, type in that promo code CFB Nation and go get that money.
Alrighty, up next, Governor ruling. And here are my reactions to episode 1 and episode 2 of Any Given Saturday SEC football, of course. And I wanted, like I said in the opening, I wanted to give this the time and attention that it deserved, because it 100% deserved all of the time and attention in the world. I've been hearing mixed reviews about it. I really have, and I was kind of surprised because, you know, and just like, you know, a lot of us had mixed reviews about the Florida Netflix special that they did. I believe that was a year ago. I believe we were talking about that in the offseason last year, but the first 2 episodes, for me, my grade is an A-. I liked it a lot, and it actually could have been an A or an A+. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I told you guys in the opening, I was really writing down notes to kind of, you know, things that really stuck out to me. So let's get right into it. Here are my thoughts for, you know, Governor's ruling, SEC football, Any Given Saturday. We've got something special on our hands with SEC football, Any Given Saturday. Netflix has, you know, stepped into the arena with behind-the-scenes docuseries that pulls back the curtain of the greatest sports in the world, that is college football. It's college football told, you know, the stories are told through 4 lenses, the way I see it. The media, the players, the coaches, families of coaches / fans are the 4th quadrant when we're looking at the players that are telling the story. And I thought it was great for them to have a lot of media kind of, you know, interpret it into this. Like we saw, you know, Andy Staples on this. And it's great. Paul Feinbaum was also on this. They had some other members of the media as well. I heard them take a soundbite while the Weeks brothers were in a car from Josh Pate talking about LSU. So it was dope the way that they told the story, because I think all are maybe not equally important. Of course, the players and coaches are more important, but the media should be there, and the families of the coaches and / fans should be there as well. So, and let me tell you, the execution so far has been nothing short of spectacular. The people who don't like it, I don't get it. Like, were you distracted when you were watching it, or were you watching it and then it refreshing your memory about where you were with this team during that period of time, right? That's how I look at it. So episode 1 drops us right into the heart of Baton Rouge with the LSU Tigers as they prepare for their week 1 showdown versus USC, right? The opener, Brian Kelly, is at the dinner table trying to figure out, you know, what wine preferences, you know, everybody want in their cups. And then his dad began to bust his chops, bro. When I tell you this is cinema gold, it is 100% cinema gold, bro. Because let me tell you, a lot of our dads, it don't matter how old we get. My dad is the same way, bro. My dad is a troll, bro. My dad trolls me 24/7, dog. Like, let the Bills lose like how they been losing to the Chiefs. He gonna say whatever he wants to say to get under my skin, bro. Oh, Josh Allen won an MVP. How you won it over Lamar? I'm like, what's this with you and Lamar? I'm like, you beat Lamar in the playoffs, bro. I'm like we're talking about MVP, right? Most valuable player. Well, you take Lamar over the Ravens. Off of the Ravens, they win more games than the Bills do if you take Josh Allen off of the Bills. Like, what are we talking about? And I was like, and you keep saying Lamar, like Joe Burrow, if they had more wins, Joe Burrow would probably win an MVP. Like, our fathers, the really good ones, never stop trolling you, bro. They never do, dog. My dad is a constant troll. For 2 months, really, 2.5 months, my dad will call me and say, yeah, man, I'm hearing reports that, the Dallas Cowboys are interested in James Cook. I'm like, why you keep calling me about James Cook, bro? I'm telling you, me and my dad need a show. We have it planned. We have the name of it planned. But I'm telling you, you guys will really enjoy my father because he's a troll, and he's an elite troll. He's a Cowboy fan, man. Something wrong with Cowboy fans. But, yeah, for 2 months. And he finally laid it the rest of the day, man. Yeah, I seen y'all signed that boy James Cook. Just kept bothering me about James Cook, bro. Like, my dad is hilarious. And then every year for the NFL draft, like, I'll tell my dad some of the guys I want the Bills to draft, right? Just based off of, watching college football. He'll never tell me who he want. He will never tell me. I remember it might have been 2016, the year that the Cowboys drafted Ezekiel Elliott. He kept talking about Jalen Ramsey. I'm like, why you keep talking about Jalen Ramsey? The whole time he wanted Ezekiel Elliott. So he's one of those people. So seeing that and seeing, Brian Kelly bust his chops was hilarious because I instantly thought about my dad and how my dad does the same thing to me. My dad trolls me on everything, bro. And trust me, I enjoy it. It's the basis of our relationship. Like, he trolls me nonstop, bro. So he said a lot of good quarterbacks in the SEC, right? You see Brian Kelly, like, side-eyeing him when he say it. Like, when his dad said, yeah, it's a lot of quarterbacks in the SEC. Brian Kelly, like, uh-huh. And he said, Ole Miss might win it all. And Brian Kelly's like, thanks, Dad. like, that's hilarious. To me, that is cinema gold. Like, a lot of us have those relationships with our dad. And I'm appreciative of my dad. And I'm appreciative of our relationship. And seeing that, I'm like, yeah, I think, to the day one of us move on from this great earth, my dad will continue to troll me. That's what he'll do. That's the basis of our relationship. And I love it. So, that had me, like I said, that had me laughing out loud. It's just a little moment. If you weren't paying attention or you were multitasking while you were watching this, you would have missed it. But it was something for me that really hit home. It really did hit home, and I enjoyed it. And, yeah, I mean, and people have been critical of Brian Kelly, but I'm going to tell you, he's going to always keep it honest with you, man. If you have a dad like that, he's going to always keep it honest with you. For real. Like, if there's certain things I don't want to hear, I ain't asking my dad, bro, because he's going to keep it all the way real with me. And sometimes you don't want to hear that, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's dope. The Cabin Works, takes us into the home of the Weeks brothers. I really enjoy seeing them, seeing their interaction and, seeing them out hunting or shooting, whatever you want to call it. They were just talking about life beyond football, right? Because that's what it's about. Like, football brings us together, but for me, it's the storylines. For me, it's always why College Game Day will be the greatest sports show ever, because the way that they tell compelling stories. Seeing them tell, of course I knew the Jalen Hurts story, but seeing the way that College Game Day told the story, seeing them, tell stories about Jordan Travis, seeing the way that they told the story how he almost gave up on football during his tenure in Louisville before going to Florida State. It's those storylines the reason why no show will ever top College Game Day, and the expertise they bring, the personalities that they have on it. And I always wonder what it would be like, post Lee Corso, because he's been such the personality there. They bring on Pat McAfee, who's going to, kind of, it's a different way of doing it, but he's still going to bring you that enjoyment. So that's why nothing touched College Game Day, and nothing ever will for me as a sports show. There are people that I hold in high regard, like Mitch Albom. When I used to watch the sports reporters, to me, the journalistic side or the editorial pieces were always my favorite type of shows. They always were. Stuart Scott is somebody that I hold in a very high regard. And there are certain times like Moon, and Moon knows that. He'll text me, Stuart Scott. And that's just his way of telling me lock in. You know what I'm saying? So I've always enjoyed the editorial pieces. A lot of y'all probably don't even remember the sports reporters when it was on. And it was probably boring to a lot of people, but I love the editorial pieces. I love football talk. It don't got to be, this is no disrespect to what First Take does. Huge fan of Stephen A. Smith. What he's been able to do for this realm, he doesn't get enough credit for. Same thing for Skip Bayless, but that's not my style of show. Report on the sport, do your editorial pieces, and do it in a way that you're just having a discussion. Of course, there are going to be natural arguments, but you aren't forcing the issue of good versus evil, or LeBron versus this guy, or the Cowboys versus this team. No, just talk ball. That's why I love the sports reporters. And I always said, sports were always my first love. Music was secondary. But I always knew when I did get into the sports realm, I wanted to do editorial pieces. I didn't want a bunch of arguing back and forth. Of course, that makes good TV and, great cinema. At the end of the day, it's those editorial pieces that really bring me there, right? That's what bring me there. That's why I say nothing touches College Game Day. So the breaking of that fourth wall, seeing Brian Kelly's dad bust his chops for me was spectacular. It was, whoa. I got drop frames. Are we back? We back? We good? All right, I think we back. Sorry about that. You guys probably missed a good portion of that. I had to check in OBS, and I saw I was having drop frames. I didn't know that. But hopefully you guys are still here. But yeah, so like I said, what that was able to do for me, it's the editorial pieces and the breaking of the fourth wall. So seeing the Weeks brothers, and they talk about football, they talk about life, they're out shooting, you see their dad's out there with them, and it was just really dope to see, and to see them prepare for week one, them focus on the defensive side of the ball, then lose to Southern Cal, and to see that emotional aftermath is crazy. And this was the brilliant part of this show. Episode 1, they went with the title opening kickoff, and so they go from Brian Kelly, his family, the Weeks brothers, right? The loss to USC. Then they go to USC, but not Southern California, but South Carolina, right? And then we go to Columbia, and we see Beamer, getting ready, for his game versus Kentucky. And then they have this ritual. I've always been, very superstitious with football. There's a prayer I've been doing before a Bills game for many of years, right? But to see that Shane Beamer and his family are too. They'll go to a restaurant while things are good. If something bad happens, they're switching that restaurant. They said they had a really good run at Waffle House. I said Shane Beamer's eating that Waffle House. It's crazy to me. That's just pure gold. So this was another moment for me that was, cinema gold. I'm the breaking of the fourth wall. You get to see the human element. As media, it's our job to be, as critical as possible, place, praise when we're supposed to, but also place blame when we're supposed to. But to see the breaking of the fourth wall, and you really get to know who these people are. You see them around their family, because, a lot of us, you see them as coaches. We don't get to see the human element unless we are around them. I've seen the human element of Dabo Swinney because I've been around him. You see the family thing just reeks through the entire Clemson facility. It really does, because that's something that he preaches and something that he teaches, and you see it. You see it 100%. But, seeing that with Shane Beamer, how they switched up the restaurants and stuff like that, and, seeing the narrative switch, and you saw them also, preparing to play Kentucky, and how he felt like, South Carolina's been disrespected. A lot of people kind of an afterthought. But like I said, for me, the family side is gold, and it's truly cinema gold. Then we get a segment where, we see Lenore Sellers, see him preparing for the season, some of the knock on him. And then Shane Beamer talks about, him wanting to recruit him because he saw how great he was in the 7-on-7. He was like, there's no better quarterback here. But because of the injury history, at the high school level, he wasn't as highly as recruited as he should have been. But hearing his parents talk about, both his mom and dad talked about, while Lenore Sellers chose South Carolina, how his mom would just casually be walking around, and hearing Lenore Sellers on the phone with Shane Beamer. Relationships is why a lot of people decide to go to a school. Relationship, because you have the trust in a coach. And when he explained, because to me, Shane Beamer is fiery. Great brand ambassador for South Carolina. But, he plays the refs. You see, he was ready to throw hands with Brett Bielema after that bowl game loss. And to hear that, he's always trying to build you up as a coach, that's not something I anticipated. Watching his father for years, I anticipated him to really get on these players, but he's a motivator. When we look at the archetype or characteristics of a person, he's 100% a motivator. And it was just interesting seeing that side. And I remember last year, it's kind of weird because we're watching it in retrospect. We already know the answers to this test because the show was in hindsight. But also, as me, I feel like I was able to watch it, think about where I was at with the team, during that time period. So I truly enjoyed it. So to see, I didn't expect, them to beat on Kentucky the way that they beat on Kentucky. And to be honest with you, this was fantastic. Loved episode 1. I only had one lone gripe with episode 1. The omission, and I don't know if this was intentionally or they just didn't want to put this in an episode because the feeling of the episode, that was a key omission. Because, of course, then they bring us to the preparation of both teams for the Week 2 matchup, in which College Game Day was in Columbia, right? South Carolina for the LSU-South Carolina matchup. But there was huge omissions from the episode. That's my only gripe, and this is why I got an A- instead of an A or an A+. They didn't talk about the offensive PI called on Mazio Bennett and the defensive touchdown that was wiped off the board because of horse collar. 2 huge omissions that was left out from the episode. I didn't understand why. They had every reason to go to it, to have media talking about it, because they had media there. They're one of the quadrants of the people talking about it. Didn't see Shane Beamer talk about it, anything like that. That was the only gripe I had, but it was fast 50 minutes. On this show, I always talk about how quickly an hour pops up on this show, and it really does. Like, we're at the 50-minute mark now, and I'm like, damn, I only got 10 more minutes to continue talking about this segment. So it goes by quickly. It really does. But the fact that they omitted that from episode 1, I'm thinking from a director standpoint or an editor standpoint or a producer standpoint of why that was omitted. Like, that's really where why I gave it an A-, because that was omitted. I think that information was important. And I think because that's all we were talking about for a few days is media. Like, we were watching this, we were like, yo, South Carolina got robbed. Because in the grand scheme of things, if we being honest, South Carolina wins their game there in the playoff. SMU's probably out. Because then they're 10-2, right? So that was a huge moment that was omitted from it. So, boom. Episode 1, fantastic. I'm hooked. I paused it right after that episode. I made me some ramen, some vegan ramen, of course. And I was like, boom, let's get ready for episode 2. So, boom, I started episode 2. It's titled QB1. And I didn't know if each episode, because like I said, I didn't look into it. I just heard people talking about it, but I try not to hear too much because I want to watch it and make observations for myself. That's why that's what I wanted to do, and that's how I like to do it. So, episode 2 titled QB1. So I wasn't sure if episode 2 was going to show Florida and another team, but the gears shift to Gainesville, right? And Florida is balancing, a proven leader in Graham Mertz, but the 5-star phenom in DJ Lagway. Truly, truly impressive, interesting narrative, and the fact that they gave Florida an entire 50 minutes, cinema gold. This episode for me was an A+, A+. And I'm gonna tell you, I have many reasons why I feel like this episode was an A+. One, the mantra of dead man walking for Billy Napier. There was a lot of us saying it. The only person that I know that I heard not saying that, I didn't use that exact vernacular, but I looked at their schedule and I looked at the way that, Florida was kind of struggling, and I said, there is no way he survives this, right? And Nino was the only person I know that was saying DJ Lagway will save him. The only person I know that was saying that. Saying that, hey, DJ Lagway will save them. 100%. But to see this in real time, see how he was dealing with it. There was a small scene where he went into his office and he talked about the man that his dad was. That was another moment. Like I said, it's the human element of these shows, man. And seeing him getting a little teary-eyed thinking about his father. But he was just talking about his father's battle with ALS and how he made no excuses the entire time. Didn't place blame or say why me or anything like that. He said he was a stand-up dude the entire time. That really hit home. That really hit home. And to see that expression and that emotion, and when things were bad, like especially after that Miami loss, right? I remember being one of those cruel media people during that time too. I'm like, there's no way that Billy Napier survives. After I seen that whoop down in Gainesville, bro, in the swamp. Miami comes in the swamp and beat them. And guess what? I think it's gonna be reversed this year. But just seeing that emotion, my respect for Billy Napier was already high, but it's through the roof now. It's really through the roof to see him at his lowest moments. He's still in the office, he's listening to the radio, hearing all of the bad things that everybody's saying about him. The boosters having secret meetings and they want him gone. This man continued to work. And Mertz was the unsung hero of the episode. Graham Mertz. I've been critical of Graham Mertz. I really have. I remember when he first went to Gainesville, I'm like, why do they want this kid? Because I saw a guy in Madison that was very hot and cold, right? And then Gainesville, he had a high completion percentage his first year in Gainesville. And I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe this kid got something else to offer. And to see how he quietly stole the episode from me, dude, this dude is stand up, bro. Most people, at an ACL tear, you could tell the minute that you see him on the field how he reacted. It was an ACL. And most people would just say, hey, I'm done. Pack it up. Let's get, recoup, recover. Let's prepare for the NFL draft, right? And this man was there on the sideline. Lagway makes a bad play. He's building him up. He's there like almost like a liaison between the coordinator and DJ Lagway. And I tell you, I was holding back the tears when he was in the hospital. The scene, he's in the bed. He's getting ready for surgery. They're giving him the gas. His mom is just in tears, bro. It was hard to watch. She's in tears. It's like, yo, this is supposed to be my son's year. And to see how he handled everything. He handled everything like a man, bro. My respect for Graham Mertz is through the roof. And I forgot that he even was drafted this year. So for them to show that and to show, like, how the season ended for everybody, everybody's hyping up Lagway now. The huge wins over LSU and a huge win over Ole Miss and really shattered Ole Miss hopes of making the college football playoff. Dude, it was, like I said, it was hard. It was gut-wrenching. All of that, like, kind of verbiage, man. This thing was spectacular. It really was. I thoroughly enjoyed episode 1. I liked episode 2 a little bit more, just following that story and me just thinking back. I wish I went through, because for every show I do notes for it. I wish I went back and looked at some of my notes during that time while I was watching it. But to just see the man that Billy Napier was, the man that, to deal with everything Billy Napier had to deal with was crazy. It really was. And Graham Mertz, just to see the way he handled the injury, still there for his team, helped him through a really tough time period, man. Just shout out to Graham Mertz, shout out to Billy Napier, man. Like I said, I was holding back the tears watching that episode. Seeing that scene with him and his mom, instantly start thinking about my mother and the relationship I have, with my mother. She'd have been doing the same thing. And in a different facet, the same thing happened to me when I had to have surgery, back in the day. My mom was there. My pops was there. My pops was being strong. My mom in tears. Just thinking about, like, my son got everything going for him. I was illegally recruited in high school to play ball. If you watch yesterday's episode, you know the high school name. But, everything happened, like, right then and there. I had 2 surgeries back-to-back years, and it just destroyed my mom because she saw, that athletically things were about to happen for me. And like I said, that joint hit credits. And I wanted to watch the episode so badly because the next one was Vandy, right? But I stopped it. I'm only going to watch them 2 episodes at a time. So we're going to do more governor rulings on this matter, man. But great job. The Any Given Saturday crew, great job, Netflix. They told a great story. So I'm excited after watching the first 2 episodes. I really am. So those are my thoughts about the first 2 episodes. A- for me. But if you haven't watched it, go watch it. Don't listen to what everybody else saying. It's been spectacular. It really has. Right, another episode in the books, man. It's been a fun episode. We covered a lot today. Like I said, if you haven't seen SEC football Any Given Saturday, go give it a watch. It's a must watch, but watch it uninterrupted. When the kids ain't bothering you, your wife ain't in your ear, bro, get a chance, watch that junk, give it the attention it deserves, and you'll probably binge watch it, but don't. Take the time, give it the time and attention that it deserves. When you watch it a couple episodes at a time, and then stop it. You're gonna want to keep watching it, but just stop it. Think about it, sit with it, and before you think about this season, it really opens up that fourth wall, and I'm excited for it. Truly am excited for it, just like I'm excited for this season, man. So another great show. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in the sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, y'all take care. Remember, I am the governor. We are live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to be here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, man. Y'all take care. Do something nice for somebody you normally wouldn't do today, man. Truly try to make a difference. And watch the documentary and watch it uninterrupted. Governor of college football. We're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two
CJ
great
on
defensive
the
minds.
track.
They have to be better on that side of it. Appreciate you checking out this video. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and also don't forget to check out the other content that we have here, there, and everywhere. Governor of College Football.